But one of my favorite places, apart from the Himalaya, the Golden Temple at Amritsar. Worked in a hospital in Jerusalem. I lived in Korea for 3 years. I did meet the Dalai Lama. You know, I'm an All-Ireland tour guide.
I read that on your profile. But are you still? Are you still?
Yes, I'm still kicking.
That's awesome.
Hey, go for it. Just go for it.
Yeah. But can you explain me why did you use that?
Because when I traveled for 16 years.
Okay.
And there was no internet, no mobile phones.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided, if I want to see my world, I have to make a decision. And the decision has to be, I've just simply got to go for it.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm going to go somewhere, and people were the most important individuals for passing on information, because when you were traveling like that, you're always meeting people coming the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going that way and they're coming this way, and you're always somehow or other meeting someone. And I met people at that time, were traveling everywhere. At that time there was no wars, Middle East was fine.
Which year is this?
We're talking about 1970s.
Okay.
Yeah. And I made my way across Europe, listening to other people when I was staying in cheap hotels and little hostels, etc. And people telling me stories about places. I thought, gosh, and I used to have a little map with me. And I said, "Can you show me where that is?" And he said, "Oh yeah, it's beautiful." Then they're all telling me, and I said, "That's on the way. That's on my way." Yeah, I'm gonna go for that. And that's how that happened. That's how that came about. So when I say go for it, that's exactly what I did, and that's how I continued. And when I got to Turkey,
Mm-hmm.
and I went down into Syria and the Lebanon and Jordan, I found the Middle East fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Not just because of the geographical situation of it all,
Mm-hmm.
but the people. People used to say, I remember reading in some history books, oh, they're all Arabs. They're not all Arabs. They're not. And that was my first contact with the Middle East when I was going through Syria and Turkey. I met people from the most amazing place I never heard of in my life. But as I continued to travel, I kept saying, I'm going to go for that. I'm going to see that. Yeah. And so I went down to Damascus, and from Damascus down into Jordan and Amman and Beirut, the people in Lebanon. When I think about what's happening in Lebanon now, the Lebanese people are absolutely amazing. Such a small country. Armenian, Turkish, Syrian, Azerbaijanis,
Georgians?
Iranians, you name it. It was just incredible. And all those languages and all those different, and of course for me it was, what kind of food is that?
True. You can understand totally.
That is so lovely. And when I got to Jerusalem, I went over the Allenby Bridge. I remember that. It was a bridge that crossed the River Jordan to go into the West Bank. So I went across, and I was told all kinds of stories. But you know what? Growing up in a Christian country, they were always talking about this place, Jerusalem. No concept of it, just people talking about it. But when I got to Jerusalem, it was amazing. It's the same thing as like in the Lebanon. People from everywhere. Orthodox Jews, circular Jew, Muslim, different types of Muslim, different types of Christians, Armenians. It was just amazing. And the colours and the smells from the old city and the cooking and the music. Oh, this place is amazing. Yeah? I thought, I'm going to stay here for maybe a week. I'll move down and I go to Egypt. So I thought, I'll stay here for a week. Six years later. Be'emet ze tov me'od shama. Be'emet ze tov me'od. In Hebrew, really it was fantastic, absolutely. Ni oved shama. And I worked there, yeah. Ni oved ve'Bet Olim ve'Yerushalayim. I worked in a hospital in Jerusalem. And I lived in a very lovely place called Kiryat Yuvel, near a beautiful little village called Enkarim, which is Palestinian. 6 years. Not all together. I kept going backwards and forwards. Yeah. But it was basically 6 years. So I lived there. That was my home. Still is, to a certain extent.
Is that why you understand Hebrew and Arabic a bit? I think, if I'm not wrong, you also try to learn Korean?
I lived in Korea for 3 years.
Okay.
Amazing. All my travels. Well, one thing leads to another to another. It's like a snowball coming down the mountain, yeah? Coming down one of the glaciers in northern India, up there in the Himalaya Pradesh. When I was up there, yeah? Beautiful. And I went to the Karakoram too, on the Pakistan side, way up to Gilgit. And on the Indian side to, I think maybe you've been to Ladakh. Yes.
Wow.
Up to Leh.
So you were in Ladakh in which year?
Oh, way back 78, 79.
Wow. So
I was one of the first people to go up there because it was closed area for a while.
Yeah.
But when, I don't know who was in charge then, suddenly they said, I never forget it. I don't know where I was, but somebody said, we can now go to Ladakh. And I said, where's Ladakh? Oh, I gotta go for that.
So you went to Ladakh. So Ladakh, I can tell you from Indian perspective, I got to know it's a region of India, the northmost part.
Yeah.
But I got to know about it better through cinema. And there was a movie in 2006 which showed that region, and after that it just exploded for tourism. And the landscape and the mountains are like insanely beautiful. But you had not seen any of the pictures or any context.
No, nothing.
So
like, when I got there,
yeah,
I remember it was night. I got off the back of a lorry that was carrying. I must have smelled terrible. It had great big sacks of onions. Whoa! And I was on that for two and a half nights, and eventually we found this little village place. And I got out, and of course people, they had flashlights. There was no street lights down, and we went into this little guest house which was beautiful. People were so nice, and anyway I went to sleep, woke up the next day, and I thought, oh, I should open the window, and I went like this. This is how I looked. It almost frightened me. It almost frightened me to look out of a window of a bedroom where I was sleeping, a wooden shutter, open it, and see these huge Himalayan mountains in front of me. It was overpowering, and I just couldn't. I had to close my eyes, you know, and suddenly there was a knock on the door, and I opened the door, and a little man there, and he said, "Good morning, sir. Would you like some chai?"
Wow. I'm more fascinated with the idea that you got to experience these places when they were not even talked about so much. I'm assuming back then, in that point of time, India would have a different reputation for tourism, so there would be places for religious values and like cultural values and food and other things, but I don't know if back then Ladakh was a place on the list for anyone. So
the people up there were just so amazing, and you know, when they seen me, they used to come up to me and they would look at me like they're a little bit shyish, they weren't sure, and they all looked at me and said, and this is a true amazing situation. "You British?" And I thought, why would they want to say, "Am I British?" Usually the people ask me, "You're American?" "No." "You British? You British?" Because of the British Raj, because of the great game that was being played out during the Empire. And of course, British. And I looked at them and said, "That's quite interesting, you know. Their thinking is still back there." It's just amazing. Wonderful experience. People were very nice. Something else. Up there they had orchards.
Apple.
And peaches. Fed from the Himalaya. Beautiful water. The peaches were as big as my hand. Over here we get, this is our peach. Yeah. I never forget it. These things were huge. I've never seen anything like it. And I remember the guys picking and cutting it like this, and the juice and the... I have to tell you something. I haven't eaten a peach like that in my life. When I see them in these shops, "Oh, we're on sale." I said, "That's not a peach. You want to see a peach? Go to North India." It was wonderful. Absolutely. I loved it. And it was wonderful to be up there. I was up there for nearly 3 months.
In all of India or just Ladakh?
Tracking. I can show you on my map. This is my favorite book here. I picked that up in Dublin for €10. And I can show it to you. But the thing is, I have this picture in my mind of having my evening dinner sitting on the roof of my guest house in this little place called Leh, surrounded by these huge mountains, and eating like this. And at night, you could hear all the avalanches. You could hear things running down the mountain. I'd wake up, "Oh, the mountain's falling," you know. But this is a normal thing, yeah. And it was fantastic. I loved it. Lucknow to Pondicherry, the French part.
But Lucknow, again, I'm surprised. Coming from the city myself.
Yes, I know.
How did Lucknow came into your map?
Because on my travels around, I thought, listen, I'm going around India, and the best way to see India, in my opinion, is from the railway. It's from the rail system. And I remember this train stopping off in Lucknow, and I thought, well, I can stay here for a couple of days. Let's see what this is about. I had a very nice time. I really did. A lot of noise. Indian cities are very noisy, yeah. But the people were so nice, and the markets, and I just had a lovely time, yeah. And I had a little guy that I hired every day on his beep beep, Yeah, I'm going around and going places. Oh, it was fantastic. Fantastic. But one of my favorite places, apart from the Himalaya, the Golden Temple at Amritsar. I came across at Wagah there from Pakistan, and I went up to Amritsar. It just blew me away. When I seen it, I was just going, what's this? It's just amazing. An amazing place. And I thought, I'll stay a couple of nights. I wonder how much it is. You don't have to pay nothing.
Yeah.
And these people feed you and they help you out. And I couldn't believe what is going on here, you know? It's oh my gosh. It's so lovely. I couldn't sleep at night. I was too amazed at what was going on. The music and the sounds and the people and the colours of the Golden Temple are just stunning. You've been, yes?
Yeah.
It's just blew me away.
I think there is two aspects to Golden Temple for me. One is the structure, the temple itself, the feeling that you get for the temple. And the second thing is the atmosphere inside. No matter what kind of stress and situation and everything you had outside, like after you go inside and you just try to observe people, things, lake,
yes,
it just changes you from inside. And then you see the humility of people coming from big cars and then trying to do seva, basically trying to help people out and serve you food and take care of you, everything. Like this feeling of generosity and kindness, and you know that's coming from true emotions. Coming from the heart.
It's coming from the heart. And nobody's going to say, are you a Muslim?
Yeah.
Are you a Hindu?
Yeah.
Are you Christian? No.
Yeah.
Please come.
Yeah. And it's 24 hours. It's like
I know.
You can go any point of time and you can get food, place, and like no questions.
It just blew me away.
Yeah.
Just blew me away. One of my most fantastic experiences. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about humanity in there. Never forgot that. I think everybody on this planet should visit that place.
And if not, then just visit the nearest Gurudwara, because they all try to follow the same principles. So you can go to a Gurudwara anywhere you are and you will get the similar
it was just so beautiful. I mean, I'm just stunning.
Yeah.
And then I went to Dharamsala, MacLeod Ganj, and I did meet the Dalai Lama.
Really? The young Dalai Lama.
He was very, very funny.